Hello and welcome to the Australia Today. I'm your host Jai Bharadwaj, and again we shall be talking about us, the Indian Australians, because of the comments, the concerns, and the controversy around last week and a half, which is boiling a national debate. To talk about this, we have leader of opposition, Sussan Ley. Sussan, welcome to the Australia Today.
Delighted to be on the program with everyone.
Let me start. It was last week, Wednesday, 4 o'clock, when everything started. And now, just a week after you and I are talking, how do you reflect on this week?
Well, it has been an opportunity to continue the ongoing outreach that I've always had to the Indian community in Australia. But it's been important at this particular time because, as you say, the remarks that the community heard, that they were hurt by. So for me to hear directly from members of the community in different parts of Australia has been really valuable, because I have heard firsthand that sense of hurt, indeed of harm. But what I have been able to do is to reassure every single person, and that's why I'm so pleased to have this opportunity as well, that as leader, the remarks were wrong, they were not correct, they shouldn't have been made, and they have been retracted. And it's more important than ever for us as Liberal Party members across this country to reaffirm our strong support for our migration program more broadly, but particularly for the Indian Australians who have chosen to come to this country to make it their home. I'm a migrant to Australia and I value what Australia has offered me. But I also know it's important to feel that sense of welcome, inclusion, integration, and value. And that's how I see our Indian diaspora.
Sussan, we have talked, Australia Today has talked to Senator Price, and we definitely believe that she never meant to hurt Indian Australian community. However, if someone has felt hurt, that what you are saying is hurtful, it's always good idea to pacify them. And that's where a Liberal Party probably came a little bit late to the party. How do you see this?
I made it very clear that the remarks were wrong, and I think wrong is the most important statement for how they were heard and received. And the Senator is talking to the Indian community, and she's spoken to you. She has stepped away from those remarks, and I know that she'll continue to have a close dialogue with the Indian community so that she can hear firsthand how people felt and how they continue to feel. And for me, listening and understanding and dialogue are always really key components of how we respect, reflect, represent modern Australia wherever it is. But I have been very clear right from the get-go about the remarks being wrong and that they should not have been made.
Shadow Attorney General Julian Leeser, he has issued an apology on behalf of Liberal Party, which is one of the best thing which came out last week, beside you enjoying jalebi at the Harris Park. So how do you see this whole controversy should end at this point, while I'll take Liberal Party has apologized for the remarks made. Do you see the end of it, or do you see Prime Minister throwing his hat into the controversy and asking directly to Senator Price to apologize?
Well, just with respect to the Prime Minister and other members' remarks, I don't want politics to enter this at all. I want to make it very clear that this is not about politics or votes, because we are Australians every single day of every year. We vote every 3 years. But I want to be here to fight for all Australians, including our migrant communities, including Indian Australians, for the things that I believe are in our interests with our shared values and the diversity of this country. So that's my commitment as opposition leader. You mentioned, and I'm smiling at the mention of my good friend Julian Lisa, and I'm not sure if you're aware of how well he's doing with his Hindi lessons, and he's actually addressed a school recently in Hindi, and he is an incredible source of, I believe, that link between what we as Liberals believe for our migrant communities and the fact that we value those communities so highly. And particularly when he said, I don't have enough Indian Australians in my part of my electorate because of what they bring. So I do want to take a moment to just remind your viewers of the value of what Indian Australians do bring. And that includes a sense of education, family, as I said, shared values, represented at all levels of Australian life, including at the highest levels of professional employment, such as scientists, engineering, medicine, philanthropy. And the generosity of Indian Australians is something that I've seen firsthand ongoing. I represent Griffith in the Riverina. We have a Sikh temple there. We have the annual Sikh Games on the June long weekend. That is amazing. That is just an amazing cultural display of Indian life. And I've always been close to that community. Similarly, I've talked about how we had bushfires in my part of the world a few years ago, and how my local friends in the Indian restaurants came out with food, with support, and just there they were one day, and many of them had travelled actually a very long way. So I really do believe that this is a very strong, united approach, both from us to the Indian community and the Indian community back to Australians.
You went to Harris Park. Tell me more about what happened there, what concerns or maybe some compliments you received there. And did you like the food?
Absolutely. I actually grew up in the United Arab Emirates and was surrounded by, I realize it's not India, but I was surrounded by Indian cooking and Indian cuisine. And my father, who lived to 103, swore by the vegetable curry as being the secret to his longevity. And I was often sent to the Indian grocer while he was alive to look for some chana dal because he had particular belief in that. So I have a grandson with Indian heritage. I love, respect and value everything that Indian Australians bring. Now, back to Harris Park itself. I've visited there before. This was a different visit because it was after the hurtful remarks were made. So I went with many Liberal colleagues, both at the federal and state level, walked through the small businesses and listened one-on-one to what people were there to tell me. And it was important to do that. And it was important to hear directly from the community. And I've committed to, of course, going back and visiting without so many cameras and without so much fanfare, if I can put it that way, just to be with the community. And
another thing, the Australia Today did a poll survey after this controversy broke in on the weekend. And we found that almost 58% of the people who responded in our poll, unlike the Redbridge poll, said that they are supporting Liberal Party despite all this controversy, and only 34% said that they will be supporting Labour Party. So this whole idea that an overwhelming majority of Indian Australians are supporting a certain party, I think this is mistaken, and people who do these polls have no idea how this community works.
And the point is, as I said before, I'm not even really listening to these numbers of who votes for what, when, where. It doesn't matter. When you come to this country, you come because you choose Australia. You want to contribute to our community. You are a valued member of whatever migrant community you belong to. And I say that for every single migrant community. And it's not about how you vote, because you're Australian every single day. Of course, as a leader of the Liberal Party, I will work very hard to earn your vote, your trust, your respect, because of our policy platform. And I do believe that what we present in terms of our values, which are about the family, about small business, about working hard and success and education and giving back, they are shared values with our Indian community. But I don't take any vote for granted. And this discussion, I don't really want it to be about the politics.
And if I can ask you, where a leader of opposition stands on this whole debate of migration. Before this senator's comments, we were facing a major issue through 31st August rally, where Indian Australians were openly targeted in different cities of Australia. Where do you stand on this, and how do we tackle this menace of racist attacks on this community?
While we have the right in Australia to protest, and freedom of speech is one of our beliefs, there is no place in any public gathering for people with hate in their hearts, for bigoted, racist attitudes, no place at all. And I made that very clear, the Prime Minister made that very clear, leaders across this country will continue to make that clear. So unfortunately, these bad people came, and there have been, for me, some sad stories about the effect that this has had on the messages that they have delivered or tried to deliver. But overwhelmingly, Australians are good-hearted people. And we all know we're a migrant country, and we all have come from different corners of the earth. And that is part of the spirit of who we are as Australians. So it is incredibly important that leaders every day stand up and make that very strong point. With respect to migration, what I heard and continue to hear, and it's from all Australian communities, including, of course, migrant communities, is that the pressure in our cities when it comes to infrastructure, services, hospitals, schools, roads, travel, there are pressures there, and the government is not delivering the infrastructure that all our communities need and deserve. This is what I'm calling out. It is a policy failure on behalf of the government. It is not the fault of any migrant or migrant community. It is a government policy failure to not deliver the infrastructure. So we do have to have a conversation about what the migration intake should be, how it should be made up of students, of family reunion, of humanitarian, skilled workers, etc. These are sensible conversations that people should be having across Australia. And I will always listen to the communities and hear firsthand from them.
I think what you just said, majority of the migrant communities agree with what you have just said. If the rhetoric is not against certain communities, if we talk about the issues, then these issues definitely need to be tackled right here. So then, at the end, I would like you to say, if you can tell me, what are your 2 lines to Indian Australian community who is listening to you eagerly as the leader of Liberal Party?
I deeply appreciate the value that you add in choosing to come to this great country, as my family did many years ago. And you have my strong support, my team's strong support, as we work very hard for you and indeed for every Australian.
Thank you so much for taking time to talk to us.
Thank you.